to kind of show a little bit of an arc of where we came from. These are some flat illustrations. These are the kind of things that we would send prior to having a 3D image to communicate with our vendors. This is the kind of thing that we would send to a factory to talk about pattern corrections. Now, these are not wrong. There's nothing wrong with these at all. These are actually really good, but they are a lot of work for anyone. Like, you know, you're recreating pattern shapes in Illustrator to communicate about what to do to those pattern shapes. You're doing a lot of excess work. So that was, I think, where we started a little bit of realizing that how much opportunity we had to jump over these hurdles and get a little bit closer to actually communicating via a patterning software.
I would say 3D changed communication and collaboration a lot. Communicate what kind of pattern changes that I want to make to a prototype that I have received. And now we have way better tools to communicate these changes, not just verbally. We can actually do it in the program and showing them this is how this is the pattern, this is how we want to change it. So.
For sure. Yeah. We found something that worked for us, which was we were going to work directly with our factory partners. Their pattern technicians got trained in the software and would send us a first prototype, a virtual prototype, that we would then do some edits on. We would work with our team to make sure we're realizing the vision, and that's our jumping off point. And I love this image because we didn't anticipate what it would be like training our whole team to go from that visual language to this visual language.
When you work with the sketches in 2D, it's up for a lot of interpretation by whomever is receiving this sketch, right? And I mean, even before, I worked a lot with my designers to try and understand what exactly are you looking for? What kind of silhouette are you looking for? I have to understand them. I would give our pattern makers measurements saying the collar should be 8 inches high and so forth. But it's so much more that goes into it because we work with a lot of different fabrics, and I might not even know the fabric that is going to be in the end design because it might not even be developed yet. So, and the drape and such is very hard to guess, I guess. To work closely with the designers to build these, get these virtual prototypes in the beginning, it was hard to gain the trust of that. What you're looking at here is actually what our prototype is going to look like. And I think the beginning was to believe it and to build that trust. I mean, the fabrics is huge that they start trusting that the drape and everything is more accurate. And we built a lot of trust with our designers to get to that point, showing this is what you looked at, the VP, the virtual prototype that you looked at, and then to compare it to the actual prototype that we would receive. And that started building the trust.
I want to say, like, we got a lot of conversations in those 3D reviews that sounded a lot like, I'll decide when we see the physical proto. And we had to convince them, no, you can decide now about, like, what does this feel like to you? When we started showing things like the 3D image in the middle, they were wondering where the style lines went. We said, well, they're there, but unless you do color block that's what it will look like on the person too. So teaching those teams to read that visual language more like what it's going to be like in real life. This is its own language. And we still kind of work with that today with, depending on our internal customer that's looking at it, we might need to show both. To let them know, so this is where you're going to map out your pockets if you just need to see that there. But this is what it's going to look like on your model, in your marketing, frankly, this is what it's going to look like. One of my favorite things, though, to say to people who are a little bit jumpy or nervous about the 3D prototypes is that we're not replacing a physical prototype. What we're doing is we're making a bridge from that 2D to your real prototype. And that's what this is. It's a bridge. It's not a replacement for a physical prototype. It's not going to be, I can't replace, our customer isn't going to wear this instead of that. So it's not a replacement. It's a step forward. It's getting you closer to that reality.
Having the actual pattern pieces there in the program and being able to draw out, show them, say, this is what I want. There's not much up for interpretation. That being said, I'm not saying that I'm always right when it comes to how to make these changes. So it's more like showing, okay, I'm showing you here, this is what this sleeve looks like. It's too tight in the armhole or whatever. I'm trying to tell them what my intent is for the fit, how I want this garment to function, basically. So there's a lot more opportunities now to get to the point where me and my designer wants to get to when it comes to fit, especially.
Our first prototypes in our company have a couple different jobs to do. In addition to the work that they do for our development, they are used as early selling tools internally. And so those first physical prototypes, the better they can look, the better we do business-wise. And so one of the things that I also tell the folks that are kind of a little bit like, well, I could have had a physical prototype by now. I was like, yeah, you could have had a first draft by now. And instead, you're going to have a second or third draft to show. And isn't that way better? It's going to be so much more valuable.
And I'm going to add to that, thanks to COVID too, like we're getting a lot more closer to having communications with our partners overseas or wherever they are, that it's faster in the way that we can turn around these prototypes. As you said, do the changes. I can go through 3 virtual prototypes before I receive my actual first physical prototype. You see a prototype once, and then you see it again, and you see it a third time. There's kind of always something that you want to perfect, like you want to tweak and want to make it better. And this has been our chance to do that before we see the actual physical prototype. And when we receive them, everyone is happy and saying, yes, fit approved, done, sell it.
March 2020, you're all of a sudden going, okay, give me 4 ways to do what you do, except everybody's in a different room. And one of the processes that we wrote was like, well, we could just do it all on this. And that was one option. And we kind of had a mix of options that we ended up going with. But this was in the arsenal and ready to go. We were already using it. So I think that was really helpful for sure.
As we say, fit approved a garment, like this is done, this is cooked, design, merch, everyone is in on it. We can then look at grading and sizing. Like that's has been an amazing tool to see how the patterns are graded, to make sure that the medium size look is, if you're a size extra small. Also, the opportunity to look at these prototypes on different bodies, like using different avatars. I find it fascinating.